Our interview this afternoon is with Danny Bass, actually Charles D. Bass. Danny was born in Charlotte in November of 1948. He served in the United States Army from June of 1968 until June of 1970. His highest rank attained was E5, Sergeant. This interview is conducted at Burleson, Texas on Thursday, September the 12th, 2013. My name is Dale Dexheimer. I'm not related to Danny in any way. Also in the room is Milton Gibson, who is our videographer, and we have an observer, Gene Baxa. This interview is conducted for the Veterans History Project at the Library of Congress in Washington, D.C., and also Operation Remember Burleson, Texas. And with that introduction, Danny, you can tell us about your time in the Army.
Well, I guess my time in the Army was definitely an experience. The experience was good in a lot of degrees and bad in some more. As you can see, I'm kind of wrapped up on oxygen now, so there's some other things that took place. I got introduced to the United States military in May of 1968 when I got a letter in the mail that says, "Congratulations, you in service." Needless to say, I was still in high school at the time, and I was due to graduate the 1st of June, and then the 20th of June, I got the duelist privilege of going into service. When I got drafted, they made us all line up and count to three. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. They said, all right, all ones, you in the Army, all twos, you in the Navy, and all threes, you in the Marine Corps. So I happened to say one, and that's where I ended up being, was in the United States Army. From there, I went to Fort Bragg for my basic infantry training and basic training. It was kind of hard on me. I was a little heavy at the time, as I am now, but at that time I was not quite as heavy as I am now. And it got worked out. I went straight from basic because I would not sign up for another year. For whatever the reason may be, I didn't get the opportunity for my choice. So I ended up going to Fort Pope, Louisiana to go into advanced infantry training. Down there, they taught us all about being in Little Vietnam and all the pros and cons about war and what was going to happen. As soon as I finished up there, they said, we have another surprise for you. I got sent to Fort Knox, Kentucky, where I took mechanized infantry training. So infantry training, here I come. After that was finished, I was able to go home for a week or so and spend with my wife. And then it was off to the great Republic of Vietnam. When we went to Vietnam, which was kind of strange because we went out of Oakland and we got there, and I figured we'd go on military cargo planes and all that sort of stuff, but no, not really. We went across on a big jetliner with stewardess and the whole 9 yards, which was surprising. And that was the best part of the whole deal. Then we hit Vietnam, and next thing I knew, they were yelling at us to get off the plane, go, go, go. And from that point, my experience in Vietnam actually started. While in the camp there waiting to see where I was going to be serving, they decided that they needed some people to serve in the for guard duty and all around the camp. So there was there was quite a few of us, but I pulled guard duty for the next several weeks there. That was interesting because the camp got hit several times while I was out there, and we had quite a few Viet Cong to cross through the wire. And so I got my real-time experience of the Viet Cong and how they would cross through the wire and how you could shoot back and that type of thing. From that point, I guess since we were indoctrinated to that type of fighting right off the bat, they told us we got this wonderful opportunity for you to go for a little bit lighter duty, and that was to the 35th Engineer Group. And that sounded good, so we went to the 35th Engineer Group and ended up in Pleiku. From there, I went from Pleiku to on the other side of a place called Bambituit, and I was indoctrinated into the 35th Land Clearing Group. Now that was, when we first got there, there was only maybe 20, 30 of us all together. Well, let's see, wait a minute, let me think. No, maybe 15 to 18, I'm sorry. I have to think back a little bit. There wasn't that many of us. There wasn't that many bulldozers, but we were basically stuck out in the middle of nowhere, living under bulldozers at night because you never knew what was going to happen. And that was an experience in itself. As time progressed, I learned more and more about the engineers and what they did. Because I was infantry and brought into the group as an infantry person, I did not get to run a bulldozer per se as much as the other guys did. In fact, I did not get a bulldozer of my own. Every once in a while, they would let me run the bulldozer as I guess a side treat. What I did was pull guard duty off of a PC base type track. We would be the first in line going out, and I would pull the guard duty all day, and then we would be the last coming in at night. We also made the runs bringing in the chow and all that other sort of stuff. So I was like a jack of all trades, master of none, that type of thing. So I pulled probably more guard duty in that than a lot of people did. But when I wasn't doing that, I was also with all the guys and people around, and the people were nice, and you learned how to get along with people. You learned their fears and their likes and dislikes. And I think the people became like a brotherhood of people. Everybody liked everybody. If you didn't like somebody, you flat told them you didn't like them, and you worked the deal out, and then it was all over. But everybody got along very well. We traveled all over the country pretty much. So our job, as you know, was to clean off the ambush sites that were located on the sides of the roads and all, to prevent ambushes from different groups setting up ambushes against convoys and that type of thing coming in. So we did a lot of that. We worked with a lot of different groups. We worked with the ROKs in Rock Valley, the South Koreans. We worked some with the South Vietnamese Regular Army. We did not see fighting, quote unquote, per se. I mean, in other words, we were lucky. We were lucky to a strong sense of the word. I mean, yeah, we saw a little bit of stuff going off and on in the side or on the background, or we saw buses blown up and trains blown up and all that, all this sort of stuff, and you saw. I remember one time when the guys were we were going down the road, and one of the bulldozers ran over a landmine, and that was kind of sad because it blew the track, blew the tracks off of the bulldozer, and then the people that were around it, some of them had blood coming out their ears and that type of thing. And I guess some of the real bad parts about a lot of this is that uh, when we came home, a lot of this stuff never was mentioned or put in people's records and that type of thing. I saw a lot of that happen. Just a quick side note, I mean, even me where I got metal in my eyes and all and had to be evac'd and all of that, for some strange reason, all my medical records were lost. They just somehow disappeared, maybe disappeared in the fire or whatever they keep saying happened or whatever the case may be. So a lot of things like that happened. While we were there, especially in Rock Valley, we got sprayed with Agent Orange every day or every other day because they were always trying to, I guess, fly over and spray the stuff to kill all the vegetation and all around. So we got sprayed quite heavily with it. And that was of concern, but they kept telling us, no, it won't bother you, no, it won't bother you. And in fact, our water came out of the creeks. They would actually go, and this is the same water that they had sprayed Agent Orange and all in it, okay? They would actually go and suck the water out of the creeks in these big containers and throw a little bit of iodine or whatever the case into the water and all. And this is, hopefully this would be the water that, you know, that you would drink. Also, you took baths and all in this water, okay? But remember, they kept telling us over and over again that, nah, this stuff is not going to hurt you or whatnot. But there'd be a lot of times that, you know, you've had this old white powder on your skin, on your necks, or whatever the case may be, because we didn't wear shirts half the time and that type of thing, because like in Rock Valley, the temperature was like 110 degrees, 115. I mean, you know, sweat would just be pouring off of you and whatnot all the time. So we were quite inundated with the Agent Orange factor over there and that type of thing. So a lot of that happened quite a bit to all of us. You know, we saw a lot of things. I don't really know how to talk a lot about a lot of it because of all that transpired. You know, living in the mud and you know, a lot of times we lived in foxholes where we would just carve holes out of the ground and then put a piece of tarp over the top of it, and we lived down in these holes. There was times when we would go out and come back and we would find the holes full of water where the rains came and filled them up, and our foot lockers or whatever the stuff would be floating around and all of our personal stuff. So I mean, there was a lot of trying times with a lot of stuff that just got lost or destroyed. A lot of pictures, a lot of things that a lot of people had just totally got washed away or done away with. But like I said, I think the worst thing was the Agent Orange. We had a lot of interaction with the mountain yards. We saw them quite a bit. Their way of living was definitely strange at that particular point in time. That's something I had never seen before. I mean, they were great people. If they liked you, they would take care of you with their lives. If they disliked you, they liable to take your life. So I mean, that was the type of people they were. Same way with the South Koreans. They liked you. You were in good, and if they didn't like you, well, you might not be in as good a shape. We traveled on quite a few convoys. We picked up and moved every third day from a camp, so we were never in a campsite more than 3 days. So we were always moving and moving and going, okay? We would stay 3 days, pick up and move. Stay 3 days, pick up and move. That happened constantly over there to us. That was probably kind of bad. We had no respect for the South Vietnamese army. They just didn't seem to have it together. half the time what you would hear or what we would see is if something was going to happen, they would almost turn tail and join the other side before they would be on your side. So what do you want me to say? I mean, that was the way that most of us felt about it. At least I did, and I'm sure the rest. At least I would think the other ones felt the same way. I came back from Vietnam, and when I came back from Vietnam, I never did get my MOS changed. I was still infantry the whole time, so I came back from Vietnam, and they made me a jump master, and we trained the Green Berets. That's what I did when I come back. So that duty was pretty good, but they would not get rid of my 11B10, so I would definitely never reassign up or join for more time. That was the one thing that cured me forever for wanting to be out there again. I mean, I'd spent my time, but infantry, my hat was off to those guys, and I didn't want to do it again. The VA, well, I don't know what to say about the VA. They have a lot of people coming to see them on a daily basis. It took me years upon years of going back and explaining to them what was going on with my health and with the things that took place with me, that it was really, really irritating. I mean, we're not talking about 6 months, we're talking years, okay? I had a heart attack at age 35, which I never should have had. I ended up getting diabetes too. My heart failed. I've had multiple stents and all in my heart. And now they've decided that all of this stuff is now due to Agent Orange. Finally, they've recognized this. Like I said, my medical records were lost, so it took the only way that I was able to prove that I had shrapnel on my right eye and all that sort of stuff is that I had pictures, thank goodness, of me being in the hospital and what took place over there. That was my final proof of what took place there. Since then, I have a pacemaker, I have a defib, and so there's a lot of things that have taken place that I feel like Agent Orange was probably the final chapter that did it to us. And there's one other thing too. I think a lot of us developed malaria too at points in times, because there was a lot of unknown. If you would go to the doctor or see the doc there, whatever the case may be, they would tell you that you're just sick, it's unknown illness, that type of thing. So, but now I will say this: once the VA did recognize and decided that I was 100%, they've been great. So I'm not going to complain now. They're really nice to me now, and I don't have any problems. As you can see, I'm on oxygen, but because I have lost lung capacity and all of that, and the VA provides all of that, and they, like I said, they've been great to me. But up until the point that I was able to finally prove about the heart and the diabetes and all the other stuff, it was a tough road. It was hard life out there, and now they've done it. I'm trying to think of if I missed anything. I don't know of anything else. I mean,
Well, we'll go back and ask you some questions.
there you go.
I'm not sure that we've heard many stories on Agent Orange as severely as you've been affected.
Yeah.
But certainly, right now, I think the legislation is anybody that served in country, well, South China, including South China Sea, 65 to 75, you're eligible for the Agent Orange thing.
Right. As much as one day, if your DD 214 now
Yep.
reflects you being in country, as much as one day they automatically except she was having.
Uh, grew up in actually the mountains of North Carolina.
Well, no, not really. I actually grew up. It's called the Piedmont area, the
Okay.
Charlotte area. It's not really considered the mountains. It's
Does that make you a NASCAR fan?
uh no,
No?
I like NASCAR, but no, I I've worked all my life. I've went back to school, got all my degrees and all that sort of stuff, so I'm happy with that. Um, I've
You
got
you mentioned somewhere early on that you were married. Were you married before you went to Nam?
yes, I was.
You married your high school sweetheart
Yes.
right after you graduated, I guess, Danny?
Well, actually, while I was going to school,
Y'all went down to the
we
JP and
kind of eloped, yes, to South
Okay.
Carolina and got married.
okay,
That we did do.
okay.
Probably shouldn't have, but we did. And we're actually still married. And 17th of this month is 46 years of marriage. So
Well, good for you.
we're hanging in there. 3 kids, 7 grandkids.
So that part of your life has been pretty good.
Yes.
Uh,
And the Army part was not bad. And like I said, the fellowship and the people and all were great. I mean, there's no complaints about that. I think the biggest thing that I saw was the introduction of unknown substances, quote unquote, that type of thing is really what has probably hurt me the most. And I think if you'll go out there and read online, you'll find that it's affected a lot of people in that manner.
well, certainly you have the Agent Orange and some other things. We've talked to Air Force guys, and they've got some different stories about things that happened in the Pentagon
Yeah.
that caused a lot of loss of life, and it's all kind of swept under the rug and never heard about it. But when you first, well, let's see here, went to Fort Bragg, then you went over to Polk, and then Fort Knox.
Yes.
And you were always, your MOS, you're always a ground pounder.
Always 11B10.
Okay. When you got to Vietnam, heard you off that airplane, and right away you're lucky enough to get selected for guard duty.
Yes.
What kind of weapon they give you?
I actually had an M14.
14.
Yes. They were really not into the M16s at the time that I was there. M14 was the weapon of choice.
Okay. Was it reliable?
Yes. Heavy, but very reliable. Had an M14 automatic, as a matter of fact. Bring a lot of firepower, but like I said, since it is as heavy as it was, you had to carry a lot of ammo, and it would go through it as quick. So you learn very, very soon not to use it on automatic. You use it semi-automatic most of the time.
When you were on guard duty, I guess this is at night.
Mm-hmm.
What time did you go out there to your post?
Well, it all depended. Most of the time, I pulled it from from 8 o'clock at night till 8 the next morning.
You have any trouble staying awake?
No, not really, not really. I mean, I was more scared than anything else. I guess scaredness, whatever you want to fright, whatever has a big tendency to keep you awake. Okay. Never done this before. I mean, yeah, I'd walk guard duty and basic training and all this other, and yeah, you had to walk, and yeah, you had to do all this sort of stuff, and you'd get sleepy there, that type of thing. I mean, you just did, okay? But when I pull guard duty, they put you up in a tower, okay? And your tower surveyed you had a kill zone, a perimeter that anything entered the wire from point A to point C, you shot it. It didn't matter what it was. because it was all concertina wire, that type of thing. So anything that crossed into that zone, you shot. I mean, because there was no mistake about it being a kill zone, a area that nobody was supposed to come in.
Do you ever have somebody come through that wire?
Yeah.
And could you actually see it, or were you just kind of shooting in the dark out there?
Yeah. Both. You know,
Okay.
you could see movement, okay? And you're not the only one shooting. So are you the responsible party? I don't know. You know, you shoot and you're the first time you're so scared, you know, the blood's boiling, your skin's creepy, and you just do what you got to do, okay? And you see things fall down, and I mean, there's no way in the world that you would walk across a claymore laced area to check to see what you've done, because I mean it's just lined with concertina wire and cans and everything else.
The claymores that we put out.
The claymores that we put out. You
So if you
I never used the claymores, okay? And
Okay.
and I did not. You know, the guys would always tell you that came in before you that be very careful of pushing a claymore, because you don't know if somebody has went out there and turned that bad boy around on you. You know what I'm saying? Because you know they run them 50, 75 foot out, and they're way out there, and if it's at night, you can't. You couldn't tell. So I guess I would have pushed it if it would have been a last resort. But no, I never used. The only time I used a claymore is I put it on the side of my track and try one out, and we blew that bridge apart and dug. Well, never mind. We won't go there.
How much open, cleared space did you have in front of you when you were in this guard tower?
Oh, you probably had
300-400 yards?
100 yards for sure.
100?
100 yards for sure. About the length of a football field, I would guess. You know, if it was much farther than that, you know, to shoot a rifle accurately over 100 yards at a moving target is a hard thing to do. So I don't know. I mean, yeah.
That tower sandbagged?
Oh yeah, sandbagged and double sandbagged and quadrupled, and it had the sandbags on the top and, you know, all the way around the side. But you know, it had the spaces probably, you know, what, 4 or 5 foot up this way. That, you know, it wasn't cut out slots. It
Right.
was open, that type of thing.
You were very unusual in that you are infantry, and for whatever reason they sent you to the 35th Engineering Group.
That's exactly right. I like I said, I felt like I was lucky, and actually, really, after I went there and met the people and got involved with it, I was proud to be there.
You said they brought in chow. You got one hot meal a day?
No, yes, no. Okay. When we first got there, you were lucky to see a hot chow once a week, if you saw it once a week, because they would have to chopper it in, okay? We lived on those wonderful sea rations, bottled in 1942 or something like that. You know, they had the green bean and ham ones, you know, and this much grease on top of that. What you did was you took a piece of C4 and you broke it off, and you took a can, one of your cans from a prior chow time, you punched holes in the bottom, and then you broke a piece of C4 off and you dropped it in the can, and then you lit it, and it burns this beautiful blue flame, and you heated your food on top of that. That's how we heated our food. If you didn't do that, then you ate it cold. I never saw a cook stove in my life. Did you see out there at all? The best of my knowledge, I don't think I ever saw one. Now once we converted from 35th to the 538, then we started getting our own cooks and that type of thing in, and we would get one hot meal a day, that type of thing. And
When they brought you, let's see here, you said truck went out to bring in chow, whatever, supplies. They ever bring in something that maybe the Army didn't approve of? Was there
No.
maybe a little cerveza in there occasionally, or
No,
no?
no. For sure, I can tell you for a fact that I never brought in any kind of pot, marijuana, whatever, any of this other stuff. No, absolutely not ever. Never any of that ever come in. Not on my thing. The only thing we would bring in is we would bring in like maybe water, new things, of sea rations, okay, whatever you want to call them, in, and that we would bring that in, or we would bring in canned Cokes. Now, we had beer. We had 3.2 beer. I mean, that's like drinking water. I'm gonna tell you. I mean, sorry. We had 3.2 beer. Okay, and every week or every 2 or 3 days, they would take a list of what you wanted to buy, and you could either buy Cokes or beer. Okay. Beer was 10 cents a can, Coke was 12 cents a can, or something like that. Actually, Coke was more than beer. And mostly what we did was, well, we always drank hot beer. We drank it morning, noon, and night. You could probably drink 10 cans of beer and not even have the effect of 1 can of real beer now, because, I mean, this is like pea beer, or whatever you want to call it. I mean, that's a bad way to look at it. The only time we ever cooled it was if we could find some unlucky fool who lost their fire extinguisher, and we would borrow people's fire extinguishers from their devices, and we would use the fire extinguisher to cool the cans of beer, and we did that quite a bit. They used to get really mad at us for that. We done things like that, but no. I have to admit that the group that we were with, I never saw anybody quote unquote smoking pot or anything like that out on the job. Never ever.
ROK, Republic of Korea, South Koreans. Tough guys.
As tough as you want to see a person.
What kind of weapons did they have?
I think most of them carried 16s. I think maybe some of them had 14s. The Koreans were a unique bunch of guys in the fact that this is the way it was. This is the way I understood it to be. For every kill, they got to keep more of their money. The way it is for they had all of their money was shipped on a monthly basis. Every how often they got paid home to an account in their name. But for every time they had a kill, quote unquote, a kill, they got so much extra money. And they were very proud whenever they caught a Viet Cong or whatever the case may be. They would definitely tie their hands and feet, and they would parade them through town or around. No doubt about it.
You had Koreans, you had South Vietnamese.
Yes.
Your opinion of the South Vietnamese they were not near the guys that.
That's exactly right. That was my impression. I just didn't have a whole lot of faith in them. I mean,
You ever run into anybody from Australia or New Zealand or
no, never.
British?
No.
No.
Didn't run into any of those guys at all while we were there. It was mainly all just good old U.S. Army type individuals.
Well, sir, we certainly do appreciate you taking the time to visit with us today.
You're
Appreciate
welcome.
your time and service, and it certainly has it's had a lot of consequences on your life,
Yeah.
certainly.
It has, but like I said, would I ever want to do it again? No. Am I ashamed of what I did? No. And do I enjoy the people I served with? Yes. So I'm not a sour person over it. I'm just it's just I guess I wish they would have been a little bit more careful with their types of chemicals and that type of thing that they use. So
You bet.
okay.